How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we have my YCS branded bestial Ishizu deck list. Before we begin, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And first and foremost, before we begin, I just want to shout out Chris Lofton. You know this guy, he's the branded king, an actual YCS champion. He came up with most of this deck list. Like, this deck list is based 95% around his deck list. I'll put a link to his channel and to his video explaining the deck list down in the description below, so go check him out. Credit to him first and foremost, and of course shout out for helping me prepare for this event at all. So shout out to Chris Lofton, awesome guy, love that guy to death. And this deck is actually crazy in this format. If your locals or any tournament that you go to is full of branded Ishizu, this deck, not branded Ishizu, Ishizu tier. If your local or any other tournament that you go to is full of like Ishizu tier, this deck eats it for breakfast. There are some changes I would have done to the deck that could have been a little bit better, but overall, like, the Ishizu matchups felt easy, like actually easy. It was really fun. This deck is amazing. And yeah, 50 card main deck, 15-15 of course. And let's jump right into the profile. We have given our debut to our Cartesia playmat. Yes. So monsters, we have 3 Aluber, 2 Tragedy, 2 Fallen of Albaz, 1 Cartesia, 1 Albion. These two were really good. You go into Branded Lost quite a lot, and you get to search these two all the time. This card is absolutely insane. It's just like, you know, you get exactly the card you want, and because we play Branded Retribution, it just searches almost anything. So it's actually amazing, and it works really well in combination with High Spirits that I'll show in a second. Cartesia is like, okay, it's a very good discard off of Lobelion, so you search it with Lost, then you discard it with Lobelion. It's really good. Also, it helps Albert dodge like hand traps or Soliac and stuff. So I really liked it. I never like bricked on it. It was always good. We have Dramaturge and Ad Libitum. Dramaturge is always good because it's a negate and people don't actually know that it has that effect. So I really like it. Ad Libitum and the whole like branded and red package, we have to consider it because you don't get to resolve it as much because of Bestials and Shufflers, to be honest, and it's just like dead cards in your deck. Sometimes, rarely you go into it, but because this deck doesn't play the Patchwork engine, which I really kind of missed sometimes, this card doesn't have a lot of value. So consider that. Might be cuttable just to take down the deck to 40 cards, to be honest, but overall this lineup was fine. I never like bricked on anything, was pretty consistent even at 50 cards. 2 Albaz is, you know, it's better than 3, even though it's like a little bit risky. You don't get to lose them that much because you also play Shufflers yourself. Bestials, we have 2 Lobelion, 3 Serenir, honestly the best Bestial in the deck. Druisworm also like tied up right there in second place. And we have Magnamut, and we have our Ishizu package. 3 Medora, 3 Keldo. We have 1 Kelbeck and 2 Brandon High Spirit. So the story about all of this is that this again, Chris Lofton came up with this deck list. I think it's really smart. So basically, you have 2 very good lines of play here. You have the Shaddoll construct in your extra deck, the right El Shaddoll construct, to make sure you have it in your deck list. So you have El Shaddoll, which is a level 8 fusion with 2500 defense, which is what you need for Branded High Spirits. Branded High Spirits, you reveal a monster in your hand and in your extra deck, you discard both of them, you send them to the graveyard, and then you search a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz or Fallen of Albaz. So essentially you have 2 lines here. If you open High Spirits and a Shuffler, you basically go High Spirits, you send off the Shuffler, you send the El Shaddoll construct, so you already have a fusion in graveyard if you want to fuse for Mirror Jade with Albion, which is really good. You don't have to discard for Lobelion after that. And you search off like Albion or something like that. This is one line, and it's really good because it just gets a shuffler to your graveyard, and it's basically free. This comes back during the next turn. It's really, really good. The other line, which is actually insane, so this combination actually searches for branded fusion. So what you do is you send this, and for example, you send like an Albion from the extra deck, right? You send all of these to the graveyard. Then your Serenir gets to send a card to the graveyard. So you send something like branded fusion, for example, and then you search for the Albion. Then you activate the effect of Albion. You send branded retribution to the graveyard as cost. Banish the retribution, take back the branded fusion. So basically, this combination, and it happens to me in several games, it just searches for branded fusion, which is unbelievably cool. And not only that, it just searches any branded spell trap, because you do that combination, whatever you need lost, you need regained, it gets it to you. So these were very good. Like I used these in some matchups. So when I went against the Ishizu tier, I put up like a branded board. They're not afraid to mill me. They mill shufflers, and then they're basically screwed because I have a lot of Bestials and shufflers as well. I also use Kelbeck against like Flunderies. Against Scareclaw, I use the Kelbeck, discarding it off of like Lupelion or branded opening or something. Then I milled 5 for both of us because I actually can gain a lot of advantage from it. And they milled like 2 Arrival, and they were really screwed. So really fun, really fun package. I would really recommend it. The reason why I played 2 Serenir, you're gonna ask that in the comment, is because it's actually the worst one out of the 3. It searches for things like Albaz and stuff like that, but you don't want this in your graveyard. Ishizu's just gonna take it with Dark, activate the effect, get their own Bestial. You don't want to see this card, to be honest. These two, like this outs Baguska, this outs like insane stuff, you know, the Amorphage slot, stuff like that. It's just like insane. So this package was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I couldn't use half of it because I didn't have the El Shaddai. Go watch my video from yesterday. But yeah. Spells and Traps. 3 Fusion. 3 Opening. Non-negotiable. 3 Droplet. Really good. Going second against things like Draco Slayers. Tier Elements, you hit the Elf, you hit the Rukalos, very good against Sprite, essential against things like Flunderies. It was really a good sense of security to have that in the extra deck. 2 Triple Tactic Talent. Came up once, I think. Maybe once, but it was good. Again, it's like utility. You can cut this deck down to 40 cards if you really want to. You can with the Ishizu stuff. There's a lot of like fluff here that you don't usually play in Branded, but it's, you know, utility. Branded Red, unfortunately, was one of my favorite cards back in the day, but you don't get to resolve it, like barely. I think I resolved it maybe once or twice the entire tournament. It's really good, but it's hard. Like interacting with the graveyard is extremely hard. Branded Lost, best card in the game. You always go for this, and this card absolutely like wins games. This needs a holo, to be honest. This just overperforms this format. Overperforms. It's incredible. Regained, also very good. Foolish Burial for consistency. Theater, because we don't play the Patchwork engine, and you know you might actually miss it a lot. And Harpy's Feather Duster. Again, that sense of security in the main to give you some out to things. It's important. I opened this against Flunderies. It's basically game. 1 Beast, 1 Banishment, 1 Retribution. This card put in so much work with like the Branded High Spirits package. It's amazing. 50 card main deck, pretty similar to what Lofton has on his channel, to be honest. I don't even remember what changes I made, but it's a little bit different. Mostly like based around the same thing. So we have the extra deck. I'll also show my side deck, of course. We have the Construct for the package. Lofton was playing Winda, because you can make Winda with like Lubellion, but he also mentioned in his profile that he thought just to cut it, and I agree, and you don't really need it. You go for this. Winda, like, it's really hard to go for Winda, especially if they have like shufflers and stuff. 2 Lubellion. I don't really know why I play 2. You can honestly play 1. You don't need to. Like, if you need the space in the extra deck, I was like, you know, a little bit scared, or I chickened out and played 2. You never go to 2. You never see 2. 2 Jade, 2 Albion, the Branded Dragon, 2 Masquerade. Scarred is bonkers. I always went for this. It's really hard, like, for your opponent to break up like a Mirror Jade Masquerade setup against things like Sprite, even Tier. I even went against Tier like straight to like Masquerade. It's obviously good against, you know, things like Floowandereeze. It's obvious, but this card is just nuts. I think like if you go back to the Patchwork engine and like more of a local setting, get rid of the Ishizu stuff, play with polys. Going for 2 Masquerade, like not a lot of decks can beat that. Like decks need to play an Ishizu. You also force them into a play style of doing more. You like shuffle their stuff with your shufflers. You bestial their stuff as much as possible, so they have to overcommit and pay extra, and then they're stuck. They don't have any life points anymore. So Masquerade, best boy in the deck. These are like the big fusions. Then for the one-offs, we have Queritus. Actually won me a game against Draco Slayers. Like if they don't play, you know, strictly fusions, you just out their stuff. Verte, I think I went to it once and regretted it immediately. I don't like this card at all in this format. Like it always gets like Sullied, and then they steal it with Dark, use it against you. It's like absolutely horrible. Titaniclad, you will not see me not play this amazing card. I just got the secret from Rise of the Duelist as well, just like extra final pimp to my deck. And yeah, you will not catch me not playing this card. This card, you can summon it under Necro Valley, attack over big stuff. Then you can tribute it for the Lubellion, get an extra Albaz if you need to fusion summon. It's crazy. And again, I put this against Floowandereeze yesterday. With Zombie World, they cannot out this shit. They cannot out this card at all. So I will never not play Titaniclad. Starving Venom, kind of the same thing. You just go in for huge damage. And this is what I did. Chimera, still amazing. At 1 though, you definitely don't need to. There's no world where you play 2, even with the Patchwork stuff. And of course, my special boy, my Albalonatus, which unfortunately, if you didn't see the video from yesterday, did not actually make it into the tournament. I don't think I really needed it, but this card is great against like bestial boards. Just break their stuff immediately and you know, continue from there. It's also a great send off of Mirror Jade. For the side deck, we have 3 Lightning Storm, never resolved it even once, barely even sided it in. But I think it's good. I mean, regardless, I think it's really good against like things like Flu and like Draco Slayers and stuff. It's really good as well. The Winged Dragon of Ross Fear Mode is a very good way to break boards. It gets rid of the Tier Elements monsters from the field, and it means that the traps and the stuff don't work anymore. But the big thing with this is that you have to open Branded Fusion or opening together with it, and you have to play through interruptions afterwards. So it's a great way to clear up boards, but you have to open specific things. Like every time I opened this card, I was able to resolve it, but I couldn't really play much through it. Maybe it's a skill issue, to be honest, but it kind of leaves you in an awkward position where you can't go for Branded Fusion with like Tragedy and search for an Aliber, normal summon it. You can't do that. And you give them a body, and if you can't out it or like go for like massive damage, it's kind of risky. So it did what it had to do, but it wasn't like an MVP. I wasn't like happy, you know, opening it a lot of the times. 2 Twin Twisters. Honestly, I think it's important. You can play like Cosmic. I wouldn't play Cosmic just because of time, because the time rules in this tournament are like kind of rough. But they were fine, and I never sided. Maybe sided them in once against Sprite or something. I don't remember. 2 Zombie World and Banshee, really good. I think I used it like once against Floowandereeze, but that's like all you need. Basically, you just need to open it once. So I think it's a good package, especially when you have like Kelbeck and Shufflers. It might get milled. You can set it off in Brand Fusion. It's really easy. The third talent. Good, like awesome card in general, and Solemn Judgment. So I think this is the biggest variance from Lofton's side deck. He played Shifter, he played Super Poly. I mean, those are very good challenges. He played evenly, I think. So the reason I didn't play evenly matched is that I would never end up resolving it. And I would just skip my battle phase. And, you know, they always have a crime. They have an Apex AVM. They have stuff like that. Sprite doesn't lose to it. Flu doesn't lose to it. And like, tier limits don't lose to it. So it was like, who am I playing this against, to be honest? So I decided to cut it. I didn't want it in my deck. I felt like I needed the Judgment for extra protection. Because, you know, you can go for a pretty big board now with Branded. And you can just get Even Lead or you know, Dark Ruler, or you can get Lightning Storm, and you just need some sort of protection. I know that contradicts like the time thing. I don't know if it's the best choice, to be honest. Maybe there's a better choice for protection. You can also play around it pretty easily, but I felt like I wanted something to go first that is like, you know, gives me some sort of comfort that I'm like safe from stuff like that. Super Poly, it's kind of the same thing like as Evenly. Boards aren't super polyable a lot of the times. You know, I only play 2 Albaz, so like setting the Albaz and fusing isn't really an option all of the time. And I personally don't want to super poly a tier board because they just go ham like afterwards. So I felt like I didn't really want to play it. Same with Shifter. I felt like when I was playing Shifter in the side and I was setting it in, I was opening it, it forced me, like, it doesn't hurt the deck, obviously. If you played it, you know that this deck doesn't lose to Shifter, but it does lose a lot of its really good plays, like the Lubellion from the graveyard. It loses things like, you know, Branded High Spirits. Can't use that under Shifter. So I decided to cut it. I didn't want it. I didn't want to play like suboptimally, like do the lines, like the worst lines. And yeah, basically that's it. So this was the side deck. Again, I almost made the bubble. If I just stayed up and won another game, I'd probably make the bubble and maybe do something cool from there. But yeah, I just went to sleep because it was 6 a.m. and I'm really happy. The deck was really, really good. The deck performed really good. I felt really confident going up against tier, to be honest. Like, I was not like worried at all. It wasn't a hard matchup whatsoever. And again, shout out to Lofton for coming up with this list, helping me through the process of preparing for this tournament. And it was an absolute blast. Like, this deck is so fun to play. Maybe take it to locals. Maybe enjoy it if you do. Ishizu cards are like dirt cheap now. Branded High Spirits is like common in the tins. So yeah, take it for a spin. Make sure you do leave a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, as always. And consider joining as a member if you want to support me and the channel. That will be very much appreciated. Click the join button below to learn more. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.